Hi, everyone. Welcome. Happy New Year. Carl Steinbeck here. Just want to talk about a few things tonight that I thought might interest you. This has to do with the issue of what we've been hearing about, that local counsel will be hired to help deal with Donna Adelson up there at the Leon County Jail in Tallahassee, Florida. And her counsel down there in Miami are just way too far away from her, 7.5 hours roughly away from her by car in order to visit with her on a regular basis. And so the thought being that there was going to be local counsel hired, and that her female attorney Marcella Descalvo, I think it is, she's the one that was representing Donna Adelson in her emergency hearing that was up in Tallahassee several weeks ago. So it sounds like she's going to be peeling off. They're going to try to get local counsel, but I thought it might be something of interest to discuss for you, from my perspective, what issues there would be if I was looking in being joined on to a case that already had transpired, where one of the accused murder co-conspirators already been convicted of murder. You also have another sibling, which would be Wendi Adelson, being a unindicted co-conspirator who's also testified in every trial. In every trial that she testifies, somebody gets convicted because she comes across that poorly as a witness and sets a scene for what was going on with that family. And then you have a 73-year-old, let's say, in jail, and they're not releasable on bond because it's a murder case. And so if somebody came looking to me in my office to say, "Hey, Carl, would you want to come join us?" These are the kind of issues I'd be looking at before I'd want to think twice about joining on and signing up to be a local counsel for attorneys that are that far away, or an attorney that's that far away. So I think one of the things that obviously is not going to be an issue is the money. So whatever the attorney is going to demand and say, "I can do it for this amount of money," I don't think you're going to hear much pushback at all from the Adelsons. I don't think they've the wells been bled dry yet. I think they still have resources to be able to cover those funds. So whether you're talking about $1.5 million, keep in mind also, it looks like this is going to be a speedy trial case. So the trial probably wrapped up in May. So how much would an attorney want to handle this case and all the problems surrounding it in that short amount of time? So if it was me, I'd be looking at it from the standpoint of, what is it like, that what has happened going on so far with these trials, and is there any common defense that I'm going to be seeing and expected to take part in? So, for example, is Charlie's case, his defense theory of what happened about this extortion from the hitman, is that gonna be something I'm locked into? And because it failed during Charlie's case, is that something I'm going to be expected to follow through with on representing someone in Donna's position? So I would be looking at it also from the standpoint of the attorney on the case for Charlie Adelson. He's going to be coming to me, talking to me about hiring on for being part of Donna's team. So I'm just thinking that from the standpoint of representing two folks that are indicted for murder, one of them's already been convicted. You have this preposterous defense story out there, and now you're coming and looking to hire local counsel because you cannot deal with it that far away. Now, granted, that's going to be an understandable factor. You want local counsel. It's definitely a better approach when the primary attorneys are that far away. But when you're going to be part of the whole team and be part of the trial team as well, and you're going to be going in there, maybe taking some of the witnesses, you got to bite into the strategy and all that kind of stuff. This is like a whole different type of thing, because you don't really have as much control over the case now, because you have Rashbaum or somebody in Rashbaum's situation, let's say, that's going to be calling the shots, and they're just bringing you on more as a local counsel, a handholder of sorts for Donna, trying to keep tabs on her, try to keep her under control, and try to keep some of the contact away from her contacting you in Miami all the time. So that would be, I would think, the purpose of what the local counsel would be for. And so it wouldn't be just a matter of, though, going to visit her in the jail there. What I'd be looking at also is like, how much do you want me to be an integral part of your defense team? And if you got the same attorney on both cases, that is going to be really, to me, it would be a really red flag. I would not take part in something like that. I think a lot of attorneys in whatever state you're talking about, I think they'd be really leery of someone like in a position of Rashbaum going from one co-accused that's now convicted, and you had a defense theory that didn't win, and these people are so jointly tied at the hips and so much conversant with each other on everything going on in the case. And then you got also the jail calls that have been released all over YouTube and all these number of channels. So all this amount of exposure on the way they talk, the way they think, and oh, by the way they blasted Georgia and the jurors as well, and talk the way they ran down Tallahassee. That would be something that I'd be thinking like, wait a minute, this is my town, and if this was in a town the size of Tallahassee, and these out of towners were trashing my town that way, then granted, it's going to be something that maybe you can just get over, and maybe the money would help make you look past that, let's say. But the thing is, what's going to happen on tape after the case is over and after she would be convicted? They didn't have anything bad to say about Rashbaum on the tapes, right? But you think they're going to hold true for the local counsel, whoever that would be? I think that person would have to really realize that they're going to get an earful, and they're going to get blasted, and they'll be blamed for being part of the same problem, that they weren't any assistants, and they're part of the same deadbeat type of legal system that cannot exercise justice for folks that come from Miami. So all that kind of that talk of rage and ranting that we heard from Charlie and Donna. I mean, what attorney's going to put up with that? And would an attorney have to agree with that when they first meet Donna? Are they going to have to sit there when Donna's ranting about the terrible Tallahassee legal system and these stupid jurors and unintelligent and unsuccessful and what other kind of adjectives they use to describe them? I mean, unless you just completely decide to go, oh yeah, I'm going to agree with everything she says, you're probably not even going to be somebody that Donna's going to want to hire. I assume it's going to probably be somebody that's up there and being seasoned as an attorney, somebody that's been doing it for many decades. But the flip side of that is that they're going to have less tolerance for this kind of drama and less tolerance for this kind of friction and all this commotion that's been going on in this case, and Donna's rants inside the courtroom, all that they can see on YouTube. And so I would say that I would imagine an attorney's going to do their due diligence, and if it's going to be a firm of a couple of criminal defense lawyers, they're also going to talk about it and really do their homework and decide, is this the kind of bad exposure we want on a case, even though it brings in a lot of money? And then to get that kind of negative attention afterwards, they'll probably also look at what kind of lawsuits have been filed by Adelsons before. Granted, there were some, I think some attorneys that they hired to do something at one point they had sued after they canceled their retainer by credit card. I think the law firm had sued them and whatnot. So they may do some checking around, call some other lawyers that have dealt with them before, and really get a flavor of, hey, is this going to be nothing but heartburn dealing with Donna Adelson? Now, Daniel Rashbaum seems like a very pleasant person to deal with. He seems like a very even-keeled kind of person that generally doesn't get hot-headed, and he's not going to probably yell and scream. So he might be an okay kind of person to deal with. But, dealing with somebody like Donna, the way she carries herself, I think that's going to be the real barometer and the real test. And ultimately, it's going to be up to her whether who she wants. But if Rashbaum's going to probably be somebody that she most relies on to make that decision, they're going to have to, Rashbaum will scream as well. But the more I think about it, the more I think there's going to be really a lot of hardship in trying to find somebody that's willing to take this case, that's got the seasoned background that you want, that's done a lot of violent crime type cases, has a lot of success in winning those type of cases, maybe also has experience as a prosecutor. And so they have a lot of background on both sides, and they know what it takes to win a case. So, but that also leads you to the issue of, you'd want to have a frank conversation with somebody that's in Rashbaum's shoes and say, well, what were you thinking about this extortion defense theory? Did you really expect that to work anywhere in America, let alone Tallahassee? And then based on what that response is, you got a pretty good idea on whether this guy's you're going to see eye to eye with this guy on things. Because otherwise, if you're going to have nothing but a complete divergence of views on how the evidence should look to a jury, and how easy it would be to get a conviction against Georgia if you're not gonna just talk about the weakness of the case, how she's wrongfully accused, and how the government did wrong to Charlie, and now they're trying to do wrong to Donna. So I mean, you can have a lot of type issues of concern that you're just going to be scratching your head, going, wonder what you think about this, Daniel. Why would you be, trying to put this kind of defense out there that has no chance in hell whatsoever to ever come across to any kind of juror with any degree of credibility. So, like I say, I think I can't think of a worse defense theory I've ever seen in all my years of 33 plus years of practicing law, and even seeing stuff on TV on crime shows and stuff like that. I can't recall of a single time somebody had this far-fetched of a crazy insanity type defense, if you will. So, so that's my take on it. And so, like I say, the another key thing to keep in mind, and I've alluded to this, is the defense theory for Charlie, is that going to be the same one that Rashbaum's expecting to be using for Donna? If it didn't work before, the question would be, well, would you expect this to work for Donna? And so there's going to be some real wire brushing type of conversations, I think, before an attorney would want to take that case. And also the issue is if the previous jurors rejected Charlie's defense, why would you expect that to work now? What are you going to do different? I mean, that's a standard jury outcome. It's not some kind of far-fetched outcast type of jury verdict, a runaway jury that just came up with this because Georgia flashed some kind of fancy Dateline special on the screen and dumbed it down where they didn't even have to think, and they just went back to 8 and checked the box, guilty on all charges. So it's not the way it worked. It was a very strong case that they had against Charlie. So I would think that they'd want to feel him out. It's like, hey, did you really expect to win that case? I mean, this is like a slam dunk win for the government. And so I can imagine a lot of backpedaling by Rashbaum just to try to get somebody. But and then also, like, keep in mind the limitation is not only in defense theory, but how are you going to point the finger at Charlie? What if a new counsel coming in there, completely fresh, with no ties to someone in the shoes of Daniel Rashbaum, hypothetically on a case, what are you going to do if the best course of action is to point the finger at other Adelsons? Well, because you've been representing 3 of them, Harvey and Charlie and Donna. I mean, you can't point the finger at any of them. And now you have Charlie convicted, and maybe she wants to distance himself. Maybe the best way to attack this is to create daylight between her son and herself, if that's what the defense attorney would think. And so with Rashbaum on there, it's really problematic. So I just can see, and I think it will take some time before they actually get an attorney on the case. But if they're trying to go also a speedy trial on the and let the court know that on January 9th, I would say that's pretty much an issue that is going to change the trajectory of this case a whole lot differently than it was for like Charlie's, where he had a year and a half to get ready for trial and whatnot. So I think that they may not even find anybody in Tallahassee. Maybe they'll have to find somebody else in another city in the northern Florida. Maybe they'll have to go to Orlando or something like that. But anyway, I think they could be finding a lot of hardship and a lot of pitfalls that attorneys are going to be bringing up to them and say, why would I want to sign up something like this? The money sounds awesome, but so I think there'd be a lot of temptation there to take it with if they're offered $1 million, $1.5 million in that short of time frame. But if you have repercussions to your law firm and you're always known as the guy that represented or gal that represented one of the Adelsons and they went down in flames, and I think that's something to really that they would really want to consider and thinking, is it really worth it, that short-term success for some kind of long-term agonizing backblast or pain or whatnot to face. So with that, that's all I'm going to say for now, and I'm going to start looking at your questions. So if you want to load up your questions now, I'm going to start right now to the newest comment. So if you did post a comment earlier, I think that's something I was told I can improve on because I'm looking at the comments from the very start of this, and most of them are not happening till about the right now. So I think I'm having gaps in time coverage, how long it takes for me to read the questions. So if you already gave a question, go ahead and please restate it here so I can have them sort of all bunched together in a tighter shot group. So here's a question. Dimmy's asking, what kind of defense could Donna possibly have? So I don't want to help the defense. So I'm very much pro Marquel, pro justice for the Marquels here. So I'm not going to come up with any kind of defense theory. If you notice that Charlie's defense supposedly was spoken years in advance, maybe back in 2016 on the on one of the podcasts on Wandry. I forget the name of that, but they had proposed that maybe there was an extortion by Katie and her boyfriend or something crazy like that, and that's what they ran with. Don't know if that's a coincidence or what, but in any event, I'm not going to help them come up with some kind of defense. Defense on any kind of case that I'm representing somebody is the truth. Okay, there's nothing like the truth. If you keep digging and digging for the truth and you represent the truth at trial, no matter what side you're on, that's what's going to carry the day, and that's what I would expect to have happen. So trying to ask, well, what do you think the defense is going to be, and trying to like give them ideas of what to create for a defense, that's not something what I'm about. So sorry about that, but I think you understand my reasoning. All right, so Mary R is saying, Carl, do you think that evidence from the aborted first attempt in June might be in a future prosecution of Wendi? It does not seem to play a part yet. I think they may have, that was maybe more or less hearsay from maybe somebody in the jail. Maybe they didn't know exactly who had done that. And if they don't admit to it, that they stole $50,000 or whatever it was, then I could see that being a problem, trying to get them on board to testify and cooperate and admit to such. So if it was something that they could prove that did have reliable and credible evidence through witnesses' testimony, then I would say, yeah, they would do that. So I just think there's not enough there to make it worthwhile. All right, so here we have one from Intolerant. Wendi said in her police interview, she got an alarm notification from Dan's house the day before the murder. Rivera saw Wendi on the street by Dan's house the day before. So I guess that's not I'm not seeing a question there, but I think that was a normal thing to have that alarm notification that I do recall her saying that, but I didn't look at that as I think maybe she's trying to say, look, at people were staking out the house, and it wasn't, and maybe just trying to do more deflection that way. But it probably is, that probably part of it was maybe truthful, but don't know, and that's not been in any part of the evidence that I've seen other than what she said there in her statement. As far as her being on the street by Dan's house the day before, I don't know if it probably wasn't her. It's probably just some other couple. And keep in mind, Rivera had to be talked into this deal, and it's probably Sigfredo saying, "See, there she is. There's a lady that's trying to fight to get her kids back." So I'm not putting much stock in that. And so it seems really weird that she would be over there. And if there's hitmen looking for Dan, it just seems like a really odd thing to do. So don't know, but so emailing you all is asking, could Donna take a plea right away? What's the benefit of wanting a speedy trial? Well, I don't think she's going to plead guilty at all. I think she's going to want to fight this. And a speedy trial is really more or less for her just to keep her sanity, because I think it's going to be hard for her to last where she's at. Keep in mind, she's never talked to, by the time she actually goes to trial, it'll be about 6 months. She's talked to her beloved son, Charlie. So imagine that. She's got no way of knowing what's going on in Charlie's head. And so I think that's going to be driving her mad. And I think she's thinking that she can get an acquittal, unlike her son. But I think the time in jail is really going to mentally be playing a lot of hardships on her. And I think she's going to have a hard time making it to trial mentally. You may see her wind up in a state psych ward. There's a hospital some hours away where they stick sick folks that are mentally breaking down, maybe have capacity to stand trial issues due to mental health concerns, or whether they have an insanity defense, that kind of thing. I don't think she's going to have an insanity defense at all, but I do think that if she tries to come up with that same defense that Charlie has, obviously that's like a really insane defense of another type. So here we got a question from Fort Glory saying, "Where's Charlie now?" Charlie is in the Northeast Florida, even further than Tallahassee, away from Miami, and he's in a processing center there where they're evaluating them. I think he'll be there about a month or so, and then they'll determine where to place him more on a more permanent basis in Florida. Not that they couldn't move around after that, but he's going to be around like the most violent wing of whatever prison he's at. And from what I'm hearing, Donna is still uh, in that cell room where she's got 24/7 lights on, just basically a paper towel around her for any clothing. And I saw that she was complaining about the food's cold. She wasn't getting to use her rubber spoon long enough and things of that nature. So she's got a lot of grievances, a lot of angry concerns about the way she's being treated there. And it's not going to be fun. It's not going to be fun if you're there. And I don't think she's ever really going to get out of there because if she does, all it takes is a sheet or something like that. There's been other suicides that have been successful in Leon County Jail over the years. So I don't think they want to have Adelson's suing them for wrongful determination that she was mentally fit to uh, to not be trying to end her life. So I don't think she's going to get out of there. And I think, like I say, that's gonna be absolutely driving her. At 73 years old, and you got to deal with that. That can be really mentally just really beating you down, such that you don't even feel like you want to go to trial. So right now, she's probably not there yet. But I think as time goes on, I think her whole attitude will change, and it's not going to be for the better. Hey, Mona's saying, does Georgia need to do anything new to win this case? That's a good question. For Donna, I don't think she really needs to do much different at all. Maybe there's a few more wiretapped pieces of evidence she wants to get in. Where Donna was talking more about what was going on with the bump and whatnot. But I think the exact same evidence, exact same format, and everything like that would work perfectly. And so I think that really they got all packaged ready to go. So speedy trial is not going to be a hardship at all for this prosecutor to handle. A lot of times prosecutors can get very worrisome if someone demands speedy trial because that means they gotta really move up their preparation time. And so this particular thing about asking a speedy trial in this case is not going to be a big deal at all for for both Georgia as well as Sarah Dugan. Here's FedEx is asking, will Wendi be a prosecution witness in Donna's trial? I think she will. I think that's the MO that they're using every time. Like I say, she testifies, there's another conviction. And I think after she testifies and Donna's convicted, then I would say that they're going to go after her and Charlie Harvey next, or maybe they'll go after Harvey next and leave her to testify against Harvey. But if you arrested, even if you arrested, let's say Wendi tonight, she could still be ordered to testify. She's pending her trial to testify against her mother, Donna. So I don't know why they're worried about them being whether in trial or not, whether they want to use them or not. I'll just go ahead and just roll them all up. KCL's asking whether I think Wendi and Harvey are under surveillance. I imagine they have some kind of tabs on them because, and I think there other people are going to be reporting things that if they notice they're trying to leave town or whatnot. So I think the only thing that may keep Wendi from not leaving is maybe she's so concerned that she's going to up her arrest just like it did for her mom. So I think that she's maybe thinking she's got a year and a half left or so. But if there's a speedy trial, that could be in 6 months. They're ready to go after her. Okay, McCrady's asking 1 million plus for defense question mark. Yeah, I mean it could be that high, and so a lot of times it's based on a sliding fee scale what attorneys charge, and a lot of times it's a murder charge. A lot of attorneys would be looking at least that kind of money. So it's not it's really a lot of money for how much time you got to put in one sense because there's not any kind of experts you can really use to rebut the government's witnesses. There's not any kind of witnesses at all you can have called to really testify in Donna's defense with with the kind of stuff she said in her emails and stuff like that, I just don't see anybody wanting to say that she's like a fine, outstanding, sweet grandmother. And the way she was denying visitation, that denial of visitation is just going to be really, they're going to attribute that to her. Maybe not as much as a jury would for Wendi, but that's going to be like a real dagger for the against the defense. Yeah, why be saying there is no defense? Well, they're going to come up with something, but it's not going to be a credible defense based on truth. Is what I'm saying. So here we have Becky Ireland asking, I was thinking about Charlie Adelson's attorney and what Charlie Adelson said in the jail calls. We only have Charlie Adelson's word for how great he was doing on the stand. Your opinion, please. I think he was an absolute disaster. I thought he was really came across as a real unlikable person, a real glib liar kind of a person that did not have any respect for Dan Marquel. That was very abundantly clear that he couldn't even try to fake it, that he didn't have contempt and hatred for Dan Marquel. Think about it, how when Wendy's on the stand and Georgia was asking her about the different terms that Donna was calling Dan Marquel, like stupid and idiot and things of that nature. And one of them that Wendi was trying to act like she couldn't remember if her mom said it or not, and Charlie sitting there laughing and whatnot. And I was also thinking about when Charlie was referring to basically Dan being a jerk of sorts, and just came across so terrible. Even when he's sitting there next to his lawyer, he just looked like a guilty party. I mean, he didn't even act like he had any regard for the court or anything. He just had a real smug attitude, and that jurors pick up on that so well, and he just really alienated himself from the jury. So so he actually absolutely did terrible. So for him to score 95, I would say yeah, as someone said before, 95 out of maybe 1,000, or minus 95 was on a scale to 100 or something. But he was just absolutely atrocious as a witness, as was Wendi. I mean, they're both just you could just tell the coldness. There's no sincerity. You can't these kind of people, you really can't coach any kind of credibility out of them. And the way their story flips flops, the way he contorted words and had a spin for everything and whatnot. So no, he was absolutely terrible. Chloe's mom says, do I think Donna will hire Josh Dubin again? Yeah, I think they will. I think they will do so even more so because they realize that the jury didn't buy a single thing they said. They couldn't even get, as Charlie says, they couldn't get a single juror to vote not guilty. And so I think that's very much in play again. I think it's going to be another $1 million. So yeah, it's so you're going to look at probably like $2.5 million minimum, probably between all the attorneys, between the local, between Rashbaum, and also between the um, jury selection crew out of New York again. Okay, so here we have one from Lori Gregory's asking, what happens if is no lawyer for her in Tallahassee and she can get one in Florida? Will that allow her trial move to Florida? They're not going to change venue just because an attorney doesn't happen to be from Tallahassee. If that's your question, that's not going to happen. Where the attorney from has no bearing whatsoever on where the if there's a change of venue. In case that's your question, I'm not sure if you're asking for a venue change, but there's not going to be a venue change. This case has not been permeating through the public's domain as so much that you can't get a fair jury. So that the trial will be in Tallahassee. Okay, this is on from Chateau. You're asking, what about the stock the bar party? Did Wendi hire a babysitter, and was she asked to provide a specific bourbon? The party apparently, because there's a lot of folks. This is after while summer recess is there from the college year, that all parents were allowed to bring their children with them at this party. That's my understanding. And so she wasn't hiring a babysitter for that. She was going to wind up bringing the kids with her. As far as specific Bourbon, I think it was on a list. I've not seen supposedly there's a printout email, but even if there was a list of things she could bring, it seems sort of really ironic and strange that she would pick the one that had bullet mentioned in the type of drink. Yeah, so let's see, let me go back up. Back on the same issue, Watercolor Mama saying, what more could be discovered about the supposed email invitation about the Stock the Bar party? This is an open question that has yet to be truly discovered. Something very fishy there. Yeah, other than the fact that why would you get the bullet even if it was on the list? Did they tell her only get the bullet rye? It's actually a rye, not a type of bourbon, I guess, not actual bourbon, but so Tammy Y is asking, do I think that if Charlie will ever stop being in love with Rashbaum, they could actually get an appeal based on ineffectiveness of representation? I don't think he would get a different result. I don't see it being ineffective at all because he had really nothing to work with. I mean, one of the things you'd be asking is like, well, what could you do differently? And there's no kind of defense theory that's truthful and credible that could come up and say it's a something that's defensible. And so, ineffective assistance of counsel is can be a frequent basis for granting a reversal of a conviction, but I just don't see that in this case at all. And the prosecution wasn't doing anything that was something that was beyond the scope of what I would think is normal. And so I think everything was pretty much by the book as you would want it. Here we have a question from Norla asking, would Charlie have fared better if he said the hit was unsolicited, but they accepted it and paid up? Well, he's still saying it was unsolicited. I guess they were just going by the joke about cheaper to buy a TV than a hitman. So I don't think it ever was solicited. That's not going to be their defense. Really, that's much difference. I don't see that making any bit of outcome difference. Susan Vaughn is asking, is Charlie's lawyer walking a fine line with talking to him and then his parents, plus what could happen since he told them they might get out or you might get stopped? Excuse me. Um, it's too fine a line I'd ever want to walk. I guarantee you that. I would never represent co-accused on any kind of case, felony or misdemeanor. And here you got the worst of the worst, the most serious case. And excuse me. And so I think that what's this about? Since he told them they might get out or you might get stopped. I think you're talking about the if they flee the country, meaning Donna and Harvey. So I think that yeah, that's something that also if I was looking an attorney looking into the case and I saw that also had happened, I'm like, I don't want to deal with this attorney at all. So that could be another reason why, definitely. But that's just me in the states I practice. Florida attorneys they could wind up doing something different. But it seems like there's really high character guys that I've seen on a couple channels, like the one that represented Dan Marquel. What a stand-up guy he is, Stephen Webster, and also his partner Batiste. So those are a couple really really stand-up defense lawyers I can see doing great work for their clients. But they got a conflict because they represented Dan Marquel. So that firm could not, nor do I think they would want to represent somebody in a situation like this. Uh, Draw Latina saying best defense theory is a plea deal. I mean, if they would, I guess I don't know who you're talking about. Are you talking about for Donna here? So I mean, Donna's up there in age at 73. I don't think she's gonna cut a deal at all. I think she's gonna, unless she could cut a deal maybe to save Wendy, if they wouldn't go after Wendy or something like that. But I think she's gonna want to go to trial. I think she's so defiant and angry and stuff. I think she's gonna try to come out with guns ablazing. Here's a question on have a malt. If Charlie spills the beans on his family, could his sentence get knocked down to 20 years, best case scenario? I don't think they're going to agree to that. I think they won't agree to any particular sentence, and I don't think it'd reduce that much if he cooperated. So he's looking at life without parole. And they may just leave it at that. I mean, as if I was a prosecutor, I'd be like, I can bring them all down. I don't need Charlie to flip on anybody. I'll just order him to testify like I did for Wendy. Just have them both come in there and testify and let Charlie talk his crazy stories about extortion and how he slept with the go-between of the extortioners and him the night he got confronted and demanded all of his cash. So I mean, it's just so ludicrous. There's a question from Bill Slaughter saying, Donna's only defense at this point would he blame Charlie for taking her and Wendy's issues with Dan in his own hands and being his mother. She covered for him after the murder. Okay, well that still gets her her covering up and stuff like that, aiding and abetting, making the check payments and all that kind of stuff. That's you're just as guilty for um, for crimes that are going to put you away the rest of your life. So what she ultimately goes down for is going to be something surrounding a murder type scenario, whether even if it was something less than murder one, that would be a welcome conviction. So Candace Nye saying, was it a conflict of interest for Dan R to represent Charlie, Donna, and Harvey? I'm just telling you, most attorneys would never want to do that. Now, theoretically, like in the states I'm licensed, if you have a waiver of conflicts, you expel out all the potential conflict issues you have, you can actually do it. But the downside of it, there's so many potential things that can happen where you wind up having to pick sides between which client do you represent zealously, because you can't represent them both equally necessarily at all times. For example, what if Charlie wants to flip? As soon as Charlie wants to flip, then he has to withdraw from representing Donna, right? So he can't even have that conversation with him. That's how it works in my state. So, um, and I just think it's just so you're treading water so bad. You're on thin ice, and you could fall through in a moment's notice. And it really hurts administration of justice if you do have to get withdrawn from a case. What if he wants to flip? What if he calls Rashbaum up a week before Donna's trial and says, "Hey, you know what? I want to flip on my mom." He can't even entertain the thought. He can't represent him at that time. He'd have to basically get off both cases. He couldn't talk to either one of them at that point. So I would never want to be put in that kind of situation. So Christina is asking, what happens when you get boxed in by co-conspirators' defense? You just have a whole different reality and ignores Charlie's story. Yeah, I mean that's what you'd maybe think of doing, but then when the other story gets out there in front of the jury that it's something out there so far fetched, that also brings down your client. So it's like it's a double negative. You're not going to come out looking good either way. And then you got the same defense attorney as well that can you present a different theory without looking like really bad. So I think it's just really a quagmire of muck that those issues are just not going to get better with time. So Laura Gregory's saying, asking whether Rashbaum can act as Donna's lawyer when he's still holding appeals for Charlie. I mean, like I say, if you have waivers in the states I'm at, then that can work towards representing other folks and co-conspirators as well. It's just, I would never advise that for any attorney. And if I was ever part of a firm, I would make sure no other members of the firm would agree to doing something like that. It's just too much of a high risk, high wire act to try to pull that off. Okay, Joanna's asking if Donna's convicted, can she then talk to Charlie? Well, I think you have because they'll both be in the prison system at that point. You'd have to have an approved calls, and since there's still a case ongoing against other Adelsons, I would expect that. I don't think they're going to be talking for a while, and I think she'll probably never. There's a good chance she'll maybe never ever talk to Charlie again, um, face to face, unless there's maybe some kind of somebody's going to carry messages through maybe a tape recorder or something like that. I think there's a good chance she may never ever talk to her son again. But I'm not familiar exactly what the prison rules are there for Florida, but I'd be surprised if they allow it. So who knows? Maybe they're more lax these days. Okay, so Emmy Tater's asking if they go after Wendy for perjury, do they have to go after every perjured statement to forego the immunity deal overall, or does one instance of perjury remove the immunity deal in its entirety? Well, I would go after all the main ones I wanted to bring up. So could it be just one item? Yeah, but why would you want to do that as a prosecutor? You want to bring up all the main ones. You probably don't need to bring up every single instance of it, but all the main ones you want to bring up, I would say. Liz Liz Turner's asking, "Do I think Wendy is scared?" I think she's trying to do a lot of cognitive dissonance, but I would say she's got to be absolutely terrified of what's coming down the pike. And look at all the different channels now talking about Wendy being next. In fact, even Stephen Webster said he expects Wendy to be arrested really soon, in the coming weeks potentially as well, and be there at the defense table with her mother Donna. So that would be great news. I just don't think they're going to move it that fast. That's my guess, but I hope I'm wrong. I don't have any insider knowledge, but I would say that's a really strong statement by Stephen Webster. All right, here we go. As a matter of fact, is asking, do you think the defense asking for speedy trial is done as a tactic by the defense to try to throw the prosecution off the game of further evidence in the phones and the tablet? No, they'll have enough time to get all that downloaded, and so I don't see that being an issue at all. I think it's all a matter of Donna just cannot stand it there, and she's mentally breaking down. That's what I think the real issue is. MM is asking, will they flip faster if they're all arrested? Well, in theory, that happens that way. I just think in this particular case, even if they want to flip, the state may say, we don't need you, Charlie, to flip on anybody. We got enough evidence against everybody else. So they may not care to even listen to them. Just like with Katie, when Katie was willing to talk to the state prosecutors and investigators, they didn't have to talk to her if they didn't want to. And they took them a couple times to talk to her before she made any kind of a admission of sorts. So yeah, that's CGS is asking if the officer who saw Wendy's vehicle reviewed footage of the crime scene and saw tape was much closer than he testified to. Can he adjust his testimony? Yeah, he could if it proves his car was closer than what he said it was. I remember that too. He made it sound like they could have been further away, like maybe up to four houses down or something like that. But definitely wasn't the case. They're right there on the speed bump. So yeah, that's not something that you want to bring out the most credible information for that witness. And that's something I've done as a prosecutor is to say, hey, look, here's a tape that we can show you from local news stations where they filmed your cars there. So unless there were the cars that were on the opposite end of the street, on the west end of the street, not sure. But if that helps, then so be it. But yeah, I don't think they were definitely from what I saw, not parked that far away from Dan's house, just the house next door to it. So FedEx is asking, will Wendy be a prosecution witness on this trial? I think she will. I think that's part of their MO. They want to do things probably the exact same way they've done it in Charlie's case and do the same thing for Donna. Winter Lass is saying, "Do you feel a family's going to turn on Wendy and throw her under the bus, then come back up, then back up a few times?" Well, I think Charlie's definitely having a lot of anger towards her, and I think the longer he's in prison, that the more he's gonna get revved up to want to do that. Whether he actually does it or not, or whether they actually even want to listen to him, that's another story. So, like I say, they may say, "Okay, come in and give your proffer," and then they may just listen to that and not use it at all. So, too hard to say at this point. Here's a question from Chloe's mom. How well do you think Wendy will do on the stand at Donna's trial? Well, I think she'll do terrible again, just like she did for all the other ones. I think it shows that she was a main benefactor of this murder, and the way she was lying about so much and being deceptive. I mean, that's something that indicates your involvement and your guilt. So Corey's asking, do I think Wendy will be arrested before Donna's trial? I think it's going to happen probably after the trial. I don't see it happening beforehand. Here's a question from Weave asking, do you think the Adelsons have been funneling money to Catherine McBanois' family, thus her declining the deal and still not telling all the truth? I think there could be some truth to that. It's just really weird. And why Sigfredo hasn't tried to flip, that's just really bizarre too. Just really strange behavior that you can't even be smart enough to cut yourself a deal. Oh, thanks, Carolyn. Happy New Year to you too. That's sweet of you. Um, Yeah, here's Misa is also asking, do you think Katie's still withholding info? I watched her proffer. She didn't give a lot of what the FBI already knew. Do you think she's still getting paid by Adelson's? Charlie never badmouthed her in jail. I think there's something really weird going on there. And so, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me. It's just really bizarre. Charlie's having a pool. Charlie's having a pool party at his Whale Harbor house in Abstentia. Okay. Um, there was another question here I saw. I want to jump back to it. Let's see here. Here, Diane C is saying, do you still feel she won't make it to trial? I think she's one tough old bird and she'll make it to trial, no problem. Yeah, but I'm telling you, when you're in confinement and you're living in a cold room, you're not eating well, you're not getting good nutrition, you sleep with lights on, there's a lot of noises, there's banging of noises all the time. You got to think about it. You have zero privacy. I mean, she can't even go to the bathroom without all these eyes on her and cameras on her and going taking a shower and whatnot. And it's just, if you have that kind of stamina at 73 and can last it to full trial, I guess maybe she'll double down and whatnot. But we haven't had any more emergency motions. But so who's holding their hand up there? Who's up there to see her through these last couple weeks since that emergency motion was denied? So don't expect don't expect her to remain the same for whatever she is right now. So yeah, so here's a question from Lori Gregory. For Donna and Wendy's trials, do you not think that Georgia should take the jury for a crime scene visit that would show how she put herself there and Donna was aware of it? I would absolutely have the juries get in a bus and drive down Trescott. In fact, I'd take the whole entire all members of the jury on that entire loop from Aqua Ridge, where Wendi lived, all the way down the Centerville Road, all the way on Trescott, and then leaving and then backing up on Trescott, and then going back around to. Well, actually, you could show it both ways. The way it would go, the way she was planning to go, but for the roadblock, and then also show the way it would have been if the way she took after she had to do her K turn, and then go to ABC Liquor, and then go up to the restaurant where she had to meet her friends. And so, yeah, that if you see that, because I've been on that route with John, and it was no doubt that's not a shortcut, no doubt at all. And a jury would see it exactly for what that was. She was going to do a crime scene inspection. Bill Slaughter's asking, well, Donna's jail calls bury not only herself but also Wendi. Um, I think the calls actually are going to help out with Wendi more, because I think it's going to incentivize the prosecutors to realize what are the odds that Wendi goes down that street just a little over an hour after the murder, and no one knew it had been reported in the news at that time that there had been a murder on Trescott yet, or gunshots fired, anything like that. So the timing of that is just so creepy, as Charlie said, very, very creepy indeed. And it just doesn't happen. In real life, you don't happen to bump into something that much. And then even if you, let's say you did have that coincidence, 1 in a million shot of going down there, then you don't do anything to check on your kids. And she admitted on this last testimony on Charlie's trial that she never checked on her kids, never called the daycare. She just assumed they're okay. So anyway, that's not something a normal parent would do. So it's just too much indicators of guilt. And so I think that would be a slam dunk win to convict her on that. If you bring that kind of evidence out, bring out the fact that she's denied grandparent visitation, in fact, the whole Marquel family tree visitation, also bring up the change of the last names, also the change of the middle name for the one that had connections to the Marquel honorable family name. And then you also bring up the fact that she won't return the Holocaust survivor ring. You bring up those things without even bringing up all that other stuff about how she framed Jeff Lacoste and all that kind of stuff. I mean, she's going down. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. You just got to get the prosecution to be unleashed by Jack Campbell, and I think he was going to do it. Sally Williams is asking, do I think the prosecution may be waiting until the boys are back in school after the holidays to arrest Wendi out of county? As to Dan's voice, I think they're not waiting for the holidays. I think they're just basically trying to make sure that they get her to testify as she has normally without being coming in a jail suit. So I think they'll wait till Donna's trial's over with. But I mean, I would, like I've said many times, I would arrest her years ago. Jade Roscoe's asking, do I think Donna's making calls to Harvey and Charlie? Well, she can't talk to Charlie, so they're not going to, as indicted and convicted co-conspirators, unindicted for Donna's sake. They're not going to allow her to talk. That's what I was saying earlier. There's no way they're going to be talking. I think that's going to be driving her nuts. Yeah, this is Miso's asking, why do you think Charlie didn't badmouth Katie during the jail phone call? Janice asked about Katie, but Charlie changed the topic. Do you think he knew Katie was still protecting the Adelsons like Wendi? Yeah, I think that very well could be the case. Yeah, KCL, I agree with you. You're saying it was obvious that Charlie was lying on the stand. He had an answer for everything. It seemed like too contrived, in your opinion. Yeah, that was totally it. Dreamscape is asking, when Katie and Garcia were tried together, Katie got a hung jury. Is it more difficult to get convictions trying family members together? I don't think so in this particular case, because there's a bleed over effect, and there's much more than co-defendants who may have a motive to point the finger at other co-defendants and whatnot. Here, if you show how much the family was involved and had like a pack, a wolf pack or a cult type personality of the way they handled everything and were up in everything that was decided and vetted through Donna and Harvey's right there. I mean, look at all the phone calls going on. Harvey's back there making a few words that he can get in edgewise. So yeah, it was totally a family hit job, and I'd bring up stuff, including Robert, the honorable son doctor up in New York. I'd bring him in and have him talk about how this family dynamic was just very crushing at times, and that they were just ruthless. They could actually be sheer ruthless. It wasn't about love and family bonds and what your heart wants to fulfill the love of your life. It's all about what Donna wants. And if you're on Donna's hit list, then there's untold misery and pain you'll be targeted with if you don't conform. So Caroline is asking, can the defense argue to keep the emails out for Donna's trial? And those emails will come in. So those are for Donna's own trial. Those are her own emails. So definitely they'd come in, and the prosecution could bring that in as admission by a party opponent under the rules of evidence that are in all 50 states and federal courts. Yeah, Kat is saying Charlie Adelson came across exactly how Jeff described him in his first police interview. Absolutely. I mean, Jeff Lacoste, he was such a um, terrific witness for the state. I mean, what the way he put this together and the way he kept on studying and studying and rethinking things. So it was very much something that they still hadn't picked up on. Even when he came back, what was it, the following March, he came in on his own and said, "Hey, look, you guys really need to take a look at these Adelsons." And so, anyways, it was really awesome to see him stand up like that and just keep pestering basically the prosecution, or excuse me, the Tallahassee Police Department to wake up and really see the light of what's going on. Yeah, Marianne Cancilla is asking, in regards to the broken TV, do you think the prosecution could do some kind of test to see if a 3-year-old was capable of breaking a TV? I think she broke it. Yeah, I think. I mean, I've heard some other comments from commenters saying they had a 3 or 4-year-old that broke a TV. I mean, I don't know if theirs were lower to the ground than this one that was up on the wall, probably like five. The bottom was, I think, about 4 feet off the ground, or whatever. But I think that the way she kept the boys from getting a new TV, that Jeff Lacoste is willing to restock and grab one that same day that it broke or whatever it was, within a couple days. I think he was willing to get a new one. To have that sit there and not be replaced, and make the boys watch a movie on that as well, when another TV in the house would have was what Jeff Lacoste was setting up to watch. And so the boys were all upset. The whole 2-hour movie or whatever it was, they were all upset. Something about dragons, some show about dragons. So having your boys upset, what was she doing? She was really trying to reinforce that the TV's broke, and just trying to make it was really a reinforcement, I think, for Jeff Lacoste to remember that, yeah, the TV was broke and whatnot. So it's really weird behavior, but that's what happens when people commit crimes. They do really weird behaviors, trying to come across as innocence and knowing, but that's exactly how what happens is they wind up doing something really crazy, weird like that, and jurors can see right through it and say, you know what, this whole TV thing was a ruse. You probably broke it. You knew exactly when it was broke. It was broke about a week after the first hit attempt was unsuccessful up in June. So it was what broke around middle of June, and the hit happened that killed Dan happened a month roughly later. So yeah, that's going to be very damning, and will help get her convicted. Hey, Mona's asking, will Marquel's be called testifying in honor? Would it be better to continue to let the prosecution speak on their behalf? I really think it's important to bring in the Marquels to talk about the denial of visitation, rather than having the special agent talk about it. And he even qualified it, saying, as best I know, or as best I recall, or something like that. once or twice he said that. So you really want somebody that can bring to life, and also the pain that you could see from either Phil or Ruth, the pain that they, when they talk about the visitation, I mean, that would be so compelling. And golly, that would just be, like I say, if you bring in all that stuff, and especially bringing in through the Marquels, slam dunk win against her. Yeah, this Sam I am saying I don't think they have enough evidence to get a conviction on Wendy's. That's why they have not arrested her yet. If they had, they would do it. Yeah, that's a really weak point to make, because if you understand the politics that prevented any of the Adelsons being prosecuted all these years, and you look at Charlie, Charlie got slam dunk conviction. The jury came back in around 3 hours, including probably a 1 hour lunch break. They came back so fast. What evidence changed over all those years that made them build the case against them? They didn't even need the Dolce Vita tape. So that's just totally that's totally coming from somebody, I would say, that doesn't really understand the background of this case. So Sam, if you want to go back more and look at the details of the case and the history of this, you'll see what I'm talking about. So you just need to get more up to speed on the details. Katrina is asking Carl, what about when Charlie said that Dan was Wendy's worst mistake she ever made? Yeah, I mean that's a kind of jab at Dan Marquel that did not go unnoticed from the jury. Trust me, the jury picked up on that. I did not see them take notes on that, but I guarantee you those that were monitoring the court, including John, would have seen them doing that. I think I saw little LJ run around back there. She's getting jealous for attention here. Okay, Becky Ireland saying, I meant, do you believe Charlie Adelson's attorney actually told Charlie Adelson that he was doing great, or is Charlie Adelson just telling another lie? I'm not going to call another attorney a liar, so and I'm not familiar to know what happened, but it does believe it looks to me like, you know, he's acting like he wasn't mad at his attorney, so it looks like he's his attorney's also blaming it on the jury that he's never seen anything like that before. So I think that maybe Rashbaum, believed that he did good. There's many attorneys that don't have a lot of even if they have a lot of trials under they may not have a lot of experience in reading a jury and reading how a witness comes across to a jury. So I don't know what the ultimate outcome of what his beliefs are and what he told them, but yeah, it's still all very strange. Sophia's saying that Wendy's saying that they gave Dan the nickname Gibbers as a way to make him less scary is laughable. Again, downplaying their combined hatred of him. I totally agree. Totally agree. Stars is saying yes, both were atrocious. Yeah, their testimony was atrocious. I totally agree. So Sia Atkins is asking, why not prosecute Donna and Wendi together? I agree with that. Maybe they just want to use Wendi to testify against Donna, and so you couldn't have those as both joined together, and you can have them both test. You couldn't have Wendi testify in a case where she's also on trial. You can't force her to testify against herself. You can for another person's case, but not their own case. So that's a different matter there. So that's what I see as maybe a reason why they wouldn't want to do both at the same time. But I would say we don't even need Wendy's testimony if you bring out all that other detailed stuff on what she did to Jeff Lacoste, the way she acted strange leading up to the murders and during the day of the murders and after the murders and whatnot. It's gonna paint a really true picture of how much this this murder had to happen to save basically her livelihood. Bill Slaughter saying, having all these trials in Tallahassee, when it finally comes to Wendi, will she have a chance to change the location? I don't think so. I think there's still going to be plenty of jurors that aren't tracking this enough. Granted, each time you prosecute another Adelson, I think it helps. But Lori O is asking, the jury seemed to be sympathetic towards Wendi when she was on the stand. No, I mean, even other jurors from the first two trials, they thought she was a part of the murder plan. So that doesn't sound like sympathy to me. And Christina is saying, won't the Donna and the TV code, won't that be pivotal? Yeah, it's a huge thing. I mean, her talking about the code and all that kind of stuff, and for $5,000, it's so obvious that that she was involved. So here we have one from Leslie saying, thank you. If Wendi and Donna both get convicted, would the Department of Corrections be more likely to keep them housed separately or reunite them? No, there's no way they would put them in the same women's institution. Even they wouldn't want to have a chance of issues getting crossed between them and whatnot. They put them in separate prisons. There's enough prisons in Florida. They would not have to put them in the same location. And I think they're making a specific intent to keep them out of co-conspirators to be out of the same prison specifically. Demi's asking, will the prosecution be able to bring up Charlie's conviction in Donna's trial? I think it's going to be evident that he's convicted. So just like with the other folks that are convicted, I think that'll be the case. And there could be some kind of defense motion to not have him come in the uniform and in handcuffs and stuff like that. But it all depends on Florida rules. I'm not familiar with that. CRK is asking if this is a case you would like as a prosecutor. Absolutely, I would have no problems at all taking any of these Adelsons to trial. Like I say, I would prosecute them all at the defendant's table. Have one trial, get it over and done with. YB's asking, Carl, is this also a podcast that's played on radio as well as here on YouTube? No, I haven't done anything on radio. I've spoken on radio there in Tallahassee. During Charlie's trial, I was interviewed about 5 times, I think, over the course of a week plus, and right before the day before closing arguments, and the day after closing arguments, I was interviewed then. So that's what Charlie was talking about. But no, I'm not on any particular radio show. Don't know how that would work. Although somebody's mentioned something about, can you have do something on some other place you can put stuff? I forget what you call those. Similar to a podcast on YouTube. Mike V is asking, thank you. Happy New Year, everybody. Regarding Donna's upcoming trial, how, in your opinion, will she explain away her and Harvey's one-way ticket to Vietnam? Yeah, that's given the fact that there's conversations she talked about that she had with Rashbaum beforehand. She was obviously fleeing jurisdiction. She wasn't going over there to make a sightseeing trip and come back. So they're not going to have a good explanation, and I'm not going to try to craft one for them. But I would say whatever explanation they have is not the truth, and it'll be exposed. As a matter of fact, is saying Rashbaum was laughing at George, shaking his head swiftly at times and smirking, making fun of Georgia. I didn't see that, so sorry. I don't know if that happened. But if you do stuff like that as an attorney, you do diminish your the respect that the jury has for you. So I would say that's not an advisable thing to do. Okay, Winter Last is asking where I got my law degree. My law degree came from Drake University Law School. That's in Des Moines, Iowa, at the state capitol there in Iowa. I'm an Iowa native. Went to University of Iowa for undergrad. And that's all many years ago. Lee's asking if I think that Donna's cell phone and iPad may prove the missing link to getting them all. Yeah, it very well could help tip the scales. I mean, granted, they went all the way back to 2014 for records that they never asked for back then, I believe, on all the Adelsons, and so I don't think they ever did a search warrant um, for all the Adelsons beforehand, and I don't think they've done it for Wendi as of yet, but. Yeah, I think it'd be very much. I think they're going to get some additional things, and I think it may help speed up the arrests for the others. Missy Nichols is saying when Charlie on the stand said his brother's a black sheep of the family, did the jurors show any reaction? I did not see that because I wasn't in the courtroom. I can. It's a better question for John. John was there during the whole time. My brother John. So, but I'm sure. I'm sure talking about a brother's that he's a black sheep of the family. Well, I think it's even worse is saying that your mom doesn't like him. I remember him saying something about his mom didn't like him. I'm like, wow, that's like they're just winning over this jury, aren't they? So Charlie Delta is saying, can't Donna use the extortion defense by saying Charlie told her that he was being extorted and she believed her son? She dropped the laundered money off the night of Dan's murder help. They could come up with some corny thing like that, but the bottom line is think about what she said on the wiretaps. Think about what she said in the emails. Think about the fact that she wrote checks to Katie McBanois, and wrote a whole bunch out at one time. It was obvious she knew she wasn't working there. So if she's going to say that was all part of extortion money, listen. If you really think that the Adelsons got extorted by the Goon Squad, not the Geek Squad, but the Goon Squad, and that these people had no element of sophistication in their lives to know how to react to somebody saying, "Oh yeah, we want all the cash, hand it over right now," or my boyfriend's gonna find you eventually and kill you. I mean, nobody gives over their cash for that kind of crackpot story. So the there's no way they're gonna believe that she's acting in an innocent party and that this extortion thing was going on. So if that's what they try, I'd welcome as a prosecutor because it's all gonna crash and burn. Texas Fizz is saying, do I think all the parties remain silent after the bump? If they remain silent, they would not have been indicted. I think you mean to say, and Charlie convicted. Um, I think that definitely their own words is what was the best thing against them, and the wiretaps was a brilliant idea, and that is the best evidence against Charlie, and also the best against Donna. So um, if they had remained silent, yeah, that's probably trying to picture all the rest of the evidence there without that bump, and if they would have talked afterwards, yeah, it could be really changed the trajectory. But I think they still had enough, but. To believe that they did it, whether they could prove it or not, I'd have to think longer and harder about that one, but it definitely made it a slam dunk win. So that's what I'm thankful for. Yeah, somebody said something about Wendy's boyfriend. I don't know anything about this boyfriend, so I've heard something about it, but I did not pay any attention to it. Yeah, there's some. Somebody's asking about whether how can wear black without the cat hair all over. Well, Leo is a Bengal. Bengals really are low shed cats, and so no, I keep them out of the closet room. So Daria is saying, "Do I think the jury selection lawyer was necessary? He came across absolutely obnoxious right out of the gate. He made fun of Georgia and showed superiority. It rubbed the jury the wrong way." I think it was all those New York lawyers running in and out of the room, passing notes, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it just looked like a circus in there, from what I could gather. Granted, I wasn't in the back room like John was when they're asking the individual juror stuff, but you bring in hired guns like that, and it's on a criminal case, not a corporate case. They definitely they get their guard up and think there's something fishy going on here. So yeah, I think I would never want to use somebody like them because um, I would not miss the opportunity to connect with the jury. That's the only time that Rashbaum had a chance to really get to know the jury, ask them questions, have some rapport. And I don't know how much that Rashbaum turned over to these consultants. It sounds like most of it was done that way. So I would never want to turn the reins over to some out of towner who's not going to connect with the jury at all because they're you can just tell they're not a local person. Sandy Shea is saying, "Will John Laurel be able to get Wendi off?" No, he's not going to. I don't even know if he'd be her attorney, depending on when they charge him. He's got 4 trials with Trump to deal with, so the sooner they charge her, the less of a chance that he would be representing her. Ginny Crime Junkie is asking, "Do I think that they limit their questioning of Wendy to prevent her from having immunity about certain things?" She's not admitting to things that are outright incriminating of her or her family members. So I think that that's probably not the case, but I don't know for sure. It could have been partially the reason, but they really went after her a lot differently in this last trial with Charlie than they did the other 2 times she testified. So that was good to see. Yeah, Woodall's saying, "I find it amazing that Laurel spent 2 days in Tallahassee this fall, considering." Yeah, that was pretty surprising to see. I did not think that. I did not think he would interrupt his time defending Trump on all those cases in 4 different states. And I was asking if I think Wendy's scared of Georgia. I think when she left the courtroom, that was the first time she was rattled and knew she'd been exposed as a liar. And so I think she is definitely scared of getting back up there with Georgia. All right, just looking for some more question marks here. Okay, Jay, here from Iowa, my Iowa friend. Thank you. If Wendy's left in the U.S., can she work as an attorney in a foreign country? And so, if Wendy's left in the U.S., can she work as an attorney? Well, if she has a foreign license in in another country, yeah, she could do that. And she has her license here still. So, unless you're convicted of a felony or you do some kind of misconduct to lose it, then I think that she can add to her list of state bars or country bars, whichever one she wants, as long as she doesn't have any allegations against her that are actually filed. Here's a question from Jam: Is Tallahassee more liberal, more conservative? It's a college town, so it's going to be more liberal, and uh, and so it's definitely going to be a state that had ties to the Adelsons because the Adelsons were tied to the same party as what's the party in power there in the Tallahassee prosecution office. So here, Audrey Jordan's asking, can you share a little bit of how WhatsApp will come into play in Wendy's trial? I don't know if they've done any subpoenas for WhatsApp. I sure hope they do. We just don't know what's on those subpoenas as of yet. But I think if they're going to go after Wendy, they better pull out every kind of social media, every kind of chat grouping, and trying to get those subpoenaed records. I mean, they used some of them in the Murdo case. So I'm not an expert on WhatsApp. I've never used it before, but I know they do have some kind of encryption. But I would say that I think that it's worth every effort of law enforcement and judicial authority to compel search authorizations. That they better do their homework on that. So yeah, that's a good question. Thanks, Precious Gem. That's nice of you. Let's see here. Janine, Crime Junkie again, is saying there's been some speculation that the original plan was for Wendy to find him, thus her attire, etc. Thoughts? Yeah, I've that could be a possibility. I'm not sure about that, but yeah, why was she dressed like she was? Some folks have commented on that, saying there's no way somebody dresses like that to go meet their friends. It look like she's ready to go out and work in her backyard, tearing up plants in the garden or something like that. So to go to lunch like that and whatnot does seem really odd. So yeah, it could have been the plan as well. I just don't know. And this, how sick would that be if you want to be the one to see all the blood and gore, having to deal with seeing Dan suffering like that? I just it's just so sick. I can't even think about it. But is it possible? Yes, I believe it's possible. Just don't know. So Carmi girl saying, if Donna truly believed Charlie's been extorted, why didn't you come and testify? Why didn't she come and testify as such to exonerate her son? Yeah, I mean, they didn't, because it's a lie. And that's exactly why the lie would have been exposed if she testified to that. So think about it. Not a single witness testified to Charlie being extorted except Charlie. Weave is asking, can we expect more jail calls till Donna is arrested? I'm not sure about that. I think that they may put a lid on releasing any more of those for a while. And maybe there's some good things there. They don't want arrested and getting out there in the chat world. Thanks for loving Leo, Sally. Now here, Ashera is asking, Wendy in police interview act like she didn't have a contact info for Dan's family. Isn't that another indicator for the jury? It could be. I'm not sure about that. If they didn't get along at all, and she maybe got a new phone or something, the numbers didn't transfer, there could be a normal, innocent reason for that. But Margaret's asking if Florida does trade prisoners or will Charlie remain in Florida? They have different states that do different things. There's always a possibility. I just don't know enough about it. And it's probably like a case by case scenario. So I would say it's probably not even somebody that's an expert on Florida inmates and stuff like that. No, might be able won't be able to answer that directly. So who knows? Chloe's mom is asking, do you think after Rivera made a deal that helped the case move forward? Absolutely. I mean, without Rivera, he was the first one to break the logjam. He was and he look how credible he's testified to, even though he's a part of a gang member. Yeah, KCL, that's a good point. Charlie said he didn't learn of Dan's death until 19 July. That's what he said on the witness stand when he's being questioned on it in his own trial. Yet Don and Harvey dropped off their money to pay Katie and the hitman on the 18th, the night of the hit. So the extortion theory doesn't work from that angle. Yeah, I agree. I don't think that's something argued at trial, but that's a good point to argue at trial. So I'm going to do a couple more questions. And I'm going to sign off earlier here. We're looking at hour and 25 minutes. My throat's really bothering me still here. One Wendy old bird. Yes, it's true that Donna's still on suicide watch. That's what I'm hearing from my sources down there in Tallahassee. If on the extortion, why wouldn't is asked by CJS? Why wouldn't they have asked Charlie to sign over his Ferrari or his house or his boat versus a lousy $3,000 a month payment? Georgia should have asked. Well, yeah, and the $3,000 a month was a cover to not make it look like they're paying for a murder hit. So yeah, it was all on the down low, and it's just so ridiculous. So yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, so my crazy man says, why was Donna dropping off cash? Katie hadn't arrived at Charlie's at the time, so he hadn't been extorted yet. Yeah, so I mean, they were on their way to go up to the memorial service the next day. And so, yeah, they had to get that cash to Charlie to pay the hitman because that's what they contracted out to have done. And the instructions in the envelope, just like Katie said. Sure, we have Moon Goddess saying another YouTube channel said that Harvey is not taking Donna's calls. Assumption is that Wendy's staying with Harvey. As an attorney, would that be your advice? So, an attorney for whom is the question? I guess you're talking about Harvey's advice, or maybe you're talking about Wendi. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would say that Donna's toxic and do not talk to her at all and stay away from her, or she's going to help bring you down as well. So what I recall hearing was that some of the times, I don't know how many per se, but Harvey would mainly hang up. So I do think that's probably Wendi hanging up when she is with Harvey. So every time there's a call to Harvey's number and there's a manual disconnect, that's probably a good sign he's with Wendi at that moment. That's just my estimation. Mandy Strong is asking, do you think that Donna and Charlie are committing through Rashbaum? I do. I noticed a stack of notebooks Charlie handed him at sentencing. Yeah, probably. Yeah, he's the go-between for both of them. But technically, he's not. He's not supposed to be talking to one and then the other and have them on like a conference call. So I don't know if he would try to do that, but I think that would definitely be a violation of the jail and prison rules. Chloe's mom is saying Robert and Aretha, his wife, this is the oldest son of Harvey and Donna, said that they had kept in contact with Wendi and Dan after their divorce. After the divorce of Wendi and Dan, that'd be. And I think after he was murdered is when he cut off all ties with his family. Yeah, so I think there were some hiccups with them pressuring him to drop his fiancee at the time, Haritha, and then he eventually went back to her, and I guess they eventually accepted that, but it was still always probably estranged and some tension there. But I think they did. I think I did see photos that they had went to the wedding all the Adelsons went to the wedding there. So I think they got over some of the controlling things of Donna trying to break them up. But yeah, after the murder happened, yeah, Robert, that's my understanding. Robert cut off all contacts with him because the way they're acting all guilty and wouldn't talk about it and trying to hunker down. Just looking for another question here. I'm going to probably just take one more question here and then we'll sign off. So let me go to the very bottom. It says there's new comments. Thanks. Happy New Year, everybody. I think here the question from Lisa Avellino. Do I think that Charlie's sentence can be reduced if he turns on Wendi? Has Catherine's sentence been reduced by turning on Charles? No, I think I can wait till everything's all done. And if there's any significant testimony that they believe is should be able to reduce the sentence of Katie, then I think that would happen at that time. They're not going to do it each time after she testifies. They're going to do it cumulatively and do an assessment at that point. So the same would be for any other witness. But like I said, I think Charlie, if he wants to roll over on Wendi, I don't think they need him. So if I was a prosecutor, I'd probably say, oh, thanks. Yeah, we'll interview you and then decide not to use you after all. And you can keep your life sentence because like I say, I think they got a great chance of getting life without parole for every single one of these four Adelsons. So that's what would be my goal if I was a prosecutor on the case. So, all right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. So it's already, let's see, 10:35 Eastern time. So I wish everyone a happy New Year. Be safe out there if you got to travel tonight, and make sure you stay alert. And thank you for supporting the Just for the Marquels. And I'll be back on here some days later from now. I'm not sure how many days from now, but at least several days from now before I get back on. But anyway, appreciate y'all and talk to you later. Have a good night.